What is going on, guys? It has been quite a long time since I have been on YouTube. I think the last video I posted was a full day of eating, I think, and I believe that was kind of in like the middle of my off season. So where I'm at now is I finished that part of the off season. I then went into a 7-week mini cut cleanup phase, compound reduction phase, and now I am in the first week of the next part of my off season, which will be my final off season before I take a stab at a pro card in 2026. So I'll be doing nationals in December. I think it's the 12th, somewhere in there though, somewhere in like the December 10th to 15th. So that's kind of what's been going on since the last video that I posted. So I want to restart posting YouTube videos again, and I've just been getting really turned off from Instagram, man, and all that short form content type stuff. Instagram, TikTok, you name all the other socials that are just short form stuff. Man, I don't enjoy being on them. I don't enjoy posting on them. I will probably still continue to post on Instagram here and there, but that's just not the type of content that I personally like to consume. It's also, I just feel it's so extremist. That's how you get popular on those type of social media platforms, is just by posting stuff that is very polarizing. Also, nobody reads the captions, so it's like I used to put effort into my captions. I know nobody reads those. So YouTube is made for long form content or longer form content with more, you can be more thought out and people will pay attention. And that's really what I'm more passionate about. So I made the decision that I'm going to put way more effort into putting out YouTube videos and YouTube content than I am trying to like grow Instagram or create a TikTok or do things along those lines. It's just not the type of content that I like, and even enjoy making. So that's what I'm going to do moving forward, is just try to be as consistent as I can with these YouTube videos. So now that I'm starting this second phase of my off season, we have made a change to programming. This is probably my first significant change to programming, and man, I don't even know, that maybe since I started bodybuilding. Like, I've always been on basically a balanced type of program. However, in analyzing my physique after this cut, you know, me and Luke both are in agreement that my top line, my shoulders, my chest, my arms, they are lacking and they are hindering a lot of my shots. My quads are pretty good. My back is pretty good. So I have a unique issue that not many bodybuilders have. Usually a lot of bodybuilders will have like a weak back or weak quads, and those other parts, like the show parts, chest, arms, usually that's not the issue for a lot of guys. So I kind of have the opposite. I'm like a torso dominant bodybuilder, and you have a lot of guys who are limb dominant bodybuilders. So with this programming, we increase the frequency quite a bit, to upper body. I went from a fixed program to an asymmetrical program. So I was on a basically Monday through Sunday type schedule. Now I'm on a 2 days on, 1 day off. In the next video, I'll kind of get on to exactly what that programming looks like. But what I'm doing here is showing you the first day of my 2 on, 1 off rotating program. I think there's three or four different like 2-on 1-off variations within that whole cycle before it repeats itself. So this is the first one here, which I always start off with abs and calves on my, push days, if you want to call them that. Then after that, went into chest press. After chest press, incline, and then after incline, I come in here to this fly. Again, in later videos, I'll detail like what all the sets and stuff look like. Then after that, come into shoulders here. So I'm just doing dumbbells. I used to have access. Well, I do still have access to like an Arsenal side lateral, but because I'm working out at Planet Fitness for their chest press machines, which I don't have access to at my other gym, I do have to sub in these dumbbell side laterals. But this is I mean, look, side laterals, they're all the same. Okay. You can argue that cables are slightly different because they emphasize like the lengthened portion, but look, man, if you just spam side laterals, you will get bigger shoulders, as long as you are doing weight that your shoulders are actually moving, okay, and you're not just using momentum and having your traps and everything else come in to move the weight. After that, I go on to dips. So this day is actually a pretty short day, which brings me on to one of the big changes that I am making to the way I go about my workouts in the gym. I'm still doing progressive overload, but there is way less emphasis on this. And this comes from me I really did kind of like a deep dive into like a lot of bodybuilders and their different styles of training. Look, I'm not saying that I spent like hours doing this. It's just I've consumed so much bodybuilding content in my life that I'm aware of how all the top guys have worked out, the guys that I pay attention to, right? And everybody kind of has their own style. Real quick aside, this is what the physique is currently looking like at, 195 pounds right here. So just like I said, just finished the cut going into my off-season phase now. Really looking, my top line looks a lot better when I have a pump, obviously. But when I don't have a pump there, it is quite apparent that it is like not a strong suit of mine. So really trying to bring this up, and we'll see how it goes over the next like 24 weeks, but I'm really confident that it will improve significantly, especially with the changes that I'm making, which I was just going over. So I know how a lot of top guys trained. They all have their different style. However, there are conclusions, I guess you could say, that you could draw, or there's similarities in a lot of physiques based on the way that people train. And when I look at the guys who are like really round, really bubbly, they almost all across the board have this training style of shorter rest periods, not really concentrating on progressive overload as much. Okay, they still do concentrate on progressive overload, but they're not the guys in there benching 5 plates, 6 plates, squatting 7 plates, deadlifting 8 plates. They don't do that. Like, look at how Jay Cutler trained. Look at how Branch Warren trained. Flex Wheeler, right? Flex Wheeler is kind of not the greatest example because like his intensity wasn't there, but Jay, Branch, guys like this, like their intensity is there. Andrew Jacked, he's like a modern day example. Phil Heath is another great example. All guys who had really good intensity. And it's not that they lift lightweight. They still lift heavyweight, but they're not just chasing load on the bar. And again, they have the shorter rest periods too, which also helps to control the amount of load that you're going to be able to use, right? So this is the first time in my bodybuilding journey, career, whatever you want to call it, that I'm actually timing my rest periods. So for like back and chest, I'm giving myself about a 2-minute rest period. For arms, shoulders, smaller body parts like that, I'm giving myself 1-minute rest periods. For legs, uh, I feel like I have my leg training figured out, so that isn't something that I had to like analyze and think, and I don't think it needs to change, right? If whatever you're doing is working, it doesn't need to change. But if something that you're doing is not working, it probably needs to change, right? And so with my upper body being, behind on everything else, or that top line being behind, something needs to change, right? So that's what I'm doing. Little bit higher volume, still training really close to failure, but not like the crazy intense grinder reps that you do when you're chasing just strictly progressive overload. And this is going to be really just anecdotal, bro sciencey, but the guys who train with that type of progressive overload style, their muscle does not look as round. It's like, it's still round, but it has like almost this little flattish type look, where if you look at the guys that I mentioned, now you could argue this is just genetics, right? But you could also argue that it's training style, that because the way they trained, that is what makes the muscle appear that way. And I've done both ways of training, and I will tell you right now, the way that I'm training here, my physique looks rounder. So I really do think there is something to it. Now, I think you need a base level of strength to be able to implement this. I do not think this works if you just can't move a lot of load in the gym. Like, you need to build a base first, and then you kind of volumize that strength, if that makes sense. Dexter Jackson, another good example. Dexter Jackson lifted heavy, okay, but not crazy heavy. And he did a lot of volume, a lot of reps, short rest periods. Again, incredibly round. Look, you can argue genetics all you want, and that's fine. That is a legitimate argument. But I really do think there is something to this style of training, and I'm going to give it a try over these next 20 to 24 weeks, and we're going to see what happens. I'm very confident just already. I've been doing this for 2 weeks now, and there's already a difference that I can tell. It's almost like this permanent inflammation that stays in the muscle that makes it appear rounder, because it's almost like constantly inflamed. I don't really know how to describe it other than that, but I'm really looking forward to this next 20, 24 weeks to see if these changes make a difference, and I'm confident they will. And I think it will be a good example for anybody who watches these videos to see that there is merit to different training styles producing a different physique. Now, look, I could be wrong, and maybe in 20 weeks I won't look any better, but I'm confident that I will, and the proof will be in the pudding once I get to that point. So I'll wrap up the video here, guys. Keep a lookout for videos that I'm going to be posting. I'm going to be way more active here. Like I said, I made the decision that YouTube is what I want to pursue. So again, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.